Bok, I'm Mandy O. This is Grow, Make, Cook, and welcome to my garden. I grew up in Australia in a permaculture family, but after we got married, Mr. O and I moved here to his home country of Croatia. I am a passionate and hands-on homemaker and gardener, and I love life's simple pleasures. So join me on my journey, and together we can learn to grow, make, and cook. This is the third week in May, which is said svibanj in Croatian, and it's been wet, which means not very much time in the garden to grow, but a lot more time in the kitchen to make and to cook. Sometimes, when it's just too wet to be outside, I have to sit inside to do my crafts. So, today, in preparation for the planting to come, I'm going to make some plant labels. I use these instead of the plastic ones that you can buy, mostly because I don't like buying bits of plastic to put into my garden. So, what I'm going to do is I've just got some regular acrylic paint, and I'm just going to paint on each rock the name and a little picture of what it is I'm planting so that I know what's where. Just like that. So, the first one will be kale, which is the kale. My black Tuscan kale, one of my absolutely can't live without vegetables. I'm doing one for sikla, which is beetroot, which is a vegetable I just adore. This one's for parsley or peršin, which to my mind no vegetable garden or kitchen garden of any kind should ever be without. Mrkva, which is carrot, which I think is just one of those staple vegetables that most people grow. Mrkva. I'm also doing one for neven. Neven is pot marigolds, French marigolds. The Latin name is Calendula officinalis, and I think they are a wonderful companion plant and something really worth growing next to your vegetables in your vegetable patch. So even though these are all for my kitchen garden, I'm going to put neven or calendula in there as well. They are actually edible, the petals of the flowers, so you can put them in salads and things. And if any of my calendula come up, I'll show you that sometime later. The next one is quite a long word in Croatian, boseljak, which is basil. So I need quite a long stone for this one so that I can fit the whole word on there. Rotkvica, or radish, is also quite a long one, and so is going to need a bit of a longer stone. Another one with a longish name in Croatian is kukuruz, corn. And I'm hoping I've got enough long stones for this. It's a little bit late in May to be sowing corn, but I'm going to give it a go anyway. Lastly, but by no means least, I'm doing lettuce, which in Croatian is called salata. Sounds a bit like salad, salata. That one's easier to remember. here we have the finished pictures and paintings for my plant labels. The last step is then to get some clear nail polish, which I'm then just gonna pop over the top as a little bit of water protection. It also makes them nice and shiny, which helps them to stand out in the garden. So the sun is finally shining and we can get back out into the garden. And here are the plant labels doing their jobs. To add to the very exciting things coming up in the garden is our first lot of chamomile flowers, which means the making of tea again this year. I'm really looking forward to harvesting those. I'm just pulling off all these little broad beans. I'm not worried about using snips, which you normally would for harvesting broad beans, because you can't damage these stems any more than they've already been damaged, which is to say all of my broad bean plants, bar that one at the back, is still standing, but all of my broad bean plants are otherwise now dead. So I'm going to try and take what I can of this little bits that have actually started to form, and you can eat the beans when they're immature like this. It's they're small, they're much smaller than this variety, which is aquadulce usually get. These normally would be huge, great big whopping pods, but they're quite immature and small, but they're still edible. These are a little bit soft, probably from being out here in the rain. And that's it. This year's immature broad bean harvest, plus whatever comes from my one remaining plant. At least it'll make it one dinner. These chives are much too delicious to ignore, so I'm going to make a quiche featuring lots of fresh chives and lots of kale. To make my quiche, I use roughly 1.5 cups of plain flour, 2 tablespoons of any mild oil, I like sunflower, salt and pepper to taste. We don't actually use any salt, but lots of pepper. Just do what suits you. 1 egg, some iced water, which I gradually add until the dough starts to form. Then I knead until it's consistent. This does take a few minutes. Then I roll it into a ball and then let it rest in the fridge. Then turn your oven on. Heat it to about 180 degrees Celsius, or I think that's about 355 in Fahrenheit. And then, to start the filling, I'm going to wash and chop my greens. I've got roughly 2 cups tightly packed, about 1 of fresh herbs and 1 of greens. Any leafy herb you like works, and use any green that cooks like spinach. Add some other vegetable, about 1/2 cup worth. I'm using mushrooms, but grated carrot is also really good. Experiment with it, and then tell me how it goes in the comments. I've now got sour cream, which is about 2/3 of a cup, about 1 cup of grated cheese, salt and pepper to taste, and about 1 teaspoon of paprika. I'm using sweet, but hot or smoky work as well. I'm going to start mixing and then add 4 eggs and then continue mixing until it's really well combined. And then I'm going to set it aside. Then I'm going to take my dough out of the fridge and roll it out to be a bit bigger than my pie dish. Then I'm going to lay it in the dish, pour in the filling, pinch the edges, sprinkle with just a little bit more cheese, and then bake until golden. This takes a little bit over an hour. And then voila! Quiche. This week has been cold and wet mostly, so at least I haven't had to water. Whatever the weather, I hope you make some time this week to grow, make or cook something lovely. Thanks for stopping by. If you liked the video, click like. So that it's easy for you to come back, click subscribe. And if you want notifications, use the bell icon below. Until next time, do widzenia.